Rob Dauster here. I got Jeff Goodman with me.
Hell no.
John Fink.
Are we still live?
Field of 68 till I die.
I'm sorry, man. I blacked out.
Randolph Children.
DJ Khaled, you know the big DJ Khaled guy?
Hands brought up and in.
Goodman needs to be fired all the time.
Josh Pastner.
You're going to beat people straight up.
You know the deal. Drink responsibly tonight. I'll be drinking with you.
Jerel McNeal.
From the bluest of the blue bloods to the smallest of the mid-majors.
This is Field of 68 after dark.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Friday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. It was a wild Friday in the college basketball world. Not something that you necessarily expect on a Friday night in college hoops. My name is Rob Dauster. I have with me Jeff Goodman. I have with me Jerel McNeal. And we have a lot to get to here tonight, guys. First and foremost, I just want to say this was not a great day for Rob Dauster opinions. The team that I said was going to win the SEC, Arkansas, lost tonight. The team that I said was going to make a Final Four, Providence, lost tonight. My favorite team, UConn, lost one of their best players, a future lottery pick, is Stephen Castle. That's not good. But where we got to start is Michigan, who on Tuesday night I said was the second best team in the Big Ten, went out and lost 94-86 at home to Long Beach State. Marcus Sonis, I butchered that name, Marcus. I'm sorry. He had 35 points. And you deserve to have your name pronounced the right way. That one's hard. Doug McDaniel had 20.6 assists and 2 rebounds. Olivier Como had 22 points and 11 boards, but Michigan State gave up 56% field goal shooting and 8 for 17 from 3. Goodman, I'm going to you first on this one because I know you are just ready to rub this in my face. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
So ready. I mean, like, you are the master of the overreaction. That's what you are, because one game against St. John's and you were ready to give Michigan second place over Tom Izzo in the Big Ten. Like, how dumb are you? How dumb? Go ahead. You can answer that question. How dumb?
Very. I'm not the brightest. And look, in my defense, I did not overreact to Michigan beating St. John's. I actually overreacted to Michigan beating Youngstown State and UNC Asheville. So, for the record, you're incorrect. You got to check this.
That's true. You started it earlier than the St. John's. I forgot about that. You are even dumber than I thought. No, listen. Michigan, good win against St. John's. But again, you're catching a St. John's team right now that we saw that today when they lost to Dayton, and we'll talk about that later. They're going to try to find their way. They're terrible defensively right now. I don't think this Michigan team is anything more than a middle-of-the-road-ish Big Ten team. But again, there are a lot of middle-of-the-road-ish Big Ten teams right now, and that's the big concern about this league. But Doug McDaniel looks good. Conwell looked good tonight. But again, they couldn't stop Dan Munson and Long Beach State, the beach, with the win.
Go ahead, Jerel. It's your turn. Let me have it.
I mean, straight right away, same thing. I think it's a little bit hard to sort everything out right now in the Big Ten. A lot of the teams, obviously, Michigan was one of the teams that we were kind of leaning toward and getting high on. And as soon as we started to do that, they kind of had a falling back to earth tonight with a bad home loss. And I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's really gonna come down to the defensive end of the ball, defensive side of the ball for those guys, man. 94 points at home is just way too much. And Marcus Tashonis did whatever he wanted to do tonight, and he was cooking with grease.
I like that.
Yeah,
cooking with grease.
It was cooking with grease. That was a good one. I think you're 100% right. Like, it's the defensive. They got to figure out that side of the ball. You can't give up 94 points. You can't allow 56% shooting from the field. Here's what I'm going to say. Here's how I'm going to justify it in my mind, and here's what the argument I'm going to lay out is. Okay. After beating St. John's,
take the L, Dauster.
No, listen. After beating St. John's, Michigan, their heads got a little bit too big, right? They were feeling themselves a little bit too much, and they needed to be humble. They walked into Chrysler Arena tonight, and they were like, we're going to blow this team out by 30. It's Long Beach State. We just went into the Garden and won by 16 points. We don't even have to worry about it. We don't have to try. And we're going to have a great Friday night afterwards. They spent all their time planning what they were going to do that night, and they forgot that they had to get ready to beat a Long Beach State team that, oh, by the way, went into Chicago and took down Big East juggernaut, Big East powerhouse DePaul. I think we're looking at this the wrong way. Long Beach State This is one of the best mid-major college basketball programs that you're going to find this season. Long Beach State is the team that we actually should rank in the top 25 over James Madison. Long Beach State, the 49ers, are the team that we all need to be paying attention to, Goodman. I think we're looking at this the wrong way. Marcus Deshonis, he might be an All-American. That's where I stand on this.
35 points, man. He started his career at VCU. He's kind of blossomed under Dan Munson, who's gotten this thing back going. When it was kind of down for a year or two there. But yeah, I think we know now, like, is Michigan for real? It's way too early to tell. I think they could be in the mix for an NCAA tournament berth, but again, they're in that mix with a bunch of other Big Ten teams right now that really we don't feel great about. And it's basically everybody other than Purdue.
I mean, you're not wrong. Like Maryland here. So let's talk about Maryland, because they went to Finneran Pavilion. They went to the Finn and they lost to a Villanova team coming off of a loss to Penn. It was 57-40. This game was 39-15 at halftime. At one point, Jerel, in the second half, Villanova was up 46-15 with 13 minutes left. And I swear that you could actually see the steam coming out of Kevin Willard's ears. His head was as red as anything that I've ever seen in my life. And I know that the Terps did not show up tonight. So I'm going to ask you this, Jerel. Does this say more about Villanova? Does this say more about Maryland? And how – I mean, you played this game at a high level, man. Like, how can you come out in a game like this and lay a stinker like that?
I mean, just being honest, it was kind of impressive in a bad way, almost like a car accident. And I was just tracking the game. I tried my best to get through it going into the second half. But 15 first half points, and then I gave them a shot coming out of halftime, and I'm almost positive they went the first 5 minutes of halftime and still didn't score a field goal. These guys had nobody on their team that had more than one field goal made in the first half. And to be honest with you, that's a little bit hard. That's a little bit hard to do in this game. Sometimes you just catch a break, you get a tip in, a couple guys get it going, somebody ends up making a shot. But that was not the case tonight. And I think it says a lot about Nova too. After some would consider, I wouldn't consider it a bad loss, but an early loss that we didn't think they were going to get. They kind of bounced back tonight and kind of showed who they're going to be. And I think Villanova is going to be a team to be reckoned with throughout the rest of the year, especially going into the Big East and conference play.
Listen, I feel bad, Rob, for Kevin Willard, because Kevin Willard going into the game was 0-6 at the Pavilion. And I tweeted something earlier that he needs a few extra cups of coffee. I don't know what would have done it tonight. I mean, honestly, he needed some alcohol. That's what he needed. He needed some serious alcohol during the game because, again, think about this. The final was 57-40. They wanted a 13-2 run to end the game over the final 3.5 minutes. So it was even worse when you look at it. Like, there's scrubs. I don't want to call them scrubs, but they're whoever was in at the end, I wasn't really watching, went on that run at the end. But Kevin Willard now 0-7 at the Pavilion. He'll never play there again, ever. And this was the fewest amount of points Maryland scored since 1982 in the ACC tournament. I'm worried about Maryland now. And I was high on it coming into the year. Yeah, like I liked them coming into the year. I thought Julian Reese was going to take the next step. They had Jameer Young back. They brought in a couple really good freshmen, talented kids. But now you look at it, that's three. This wasn't a bad loss. Like losing at Villanova is not a bad loss. Losing how you did and on the heels of the UAB and Davidson neutral site setbacks, that's what makes this a terrible, terrible loss.
That's the thing to me. Yeah. That's the thing to me, Goodman, is that they went out and we talked about this on was it Tuesday night? It was either Monday or Tuesday night with Randolph. And Maryland lost close games against two very different teams in UAB and Davidson. Davidson, they couldn't deal with like all the spread out stuff that they were running, and then you go up against UAB and they couldn't deal with the physicality, they couldn't deal with the toughness, they couldn't deal with the athleticism. And after a week like that, 3.1 possession, tough, brutal losses, you would think going on the road against a team that just took an L themselves that they would come out with a little bit of of fire, right? With a little bit of motivation, saying like, all right, this is our chance to erase those two. We can go get a win on the road against the top 30 team in America. A quad one win. This is not just a quad one win. This is a high level quad one win that we have a chance to go get. And they were down 13-2. Like by the time the game switched over from Michigan State Butler, or switched over, and it's already 13-2 to Villanova. And then by the time you look up again and they're down by 18, and then you look up again and it's 24 at the half, and you look up again. When I was doing the box scores for the show and writing down the notes that I needed, it was 55-27 with 3 minutes and 29 seconds left of the under 4 timeout. Like that's just Jerel, to me, that's
one
just
of those games where Rob, if you're writing the story, if you're in attendance and you're writing the story, you love it because you're like, I can write this game at halftime. I don't even have to watch the second half. It was
Jerel, the good news.
I'm shocked Willard didn't get run. The biggest surprise is that Kevin Willard didn't get run in the second half. To just get the hell out of there.
Nah, he probably wanted to be there to watch his players struggle, so that every time that they missed a shot, he could just sit there and give them the glare when they come over to the bench. Jerel, let me ask you this. Where do you stand overall on the Big Ten? I think that you can make a pretty strong argument that, once again, Purdue is the best team in college basketball. But unlike what the league was the last couple of years, I think once you get past them, it's just there's not like a lot of good teams that we don't know who the next best is. There's a lot of teams that you're like, man, they could – I don't know if that's a tournament team, right?
No, absolutely, and I think this is sort of the issue with the Big Ten every year, and I think it's almost to a point now where it benefits these guys from getting a conference play and getting a shot to beat up on each other a little bit, because right now the conference is kind of getting their ass handed to them from a little bit of everywhere around the nation, and to be honest with you, outside of Purdue. You see a ton of question marks in the conference. Obviously, coming into the year, we thought Michigan State was going to be, the other team that was going to be in contention and competing for a title as well. But they had some early struggles as well. But obviously, I don't think that their issues are as serious as some are making it out to be. They had 2 losses, but one of them, I guess, I don't even know if you consider that one a terrible loss anymore, because James Madison is ranked top 25 now, and I think they're 4 or 5-0, something like that. And then the other one is at Duke. So they don't have bad losses, but for the rest of the conference, it's a ton of question marks. Where does Maryland fit into this? Ohio State's kind of struggled early on, and they looked okay at times. Who else you got? Illinois kind of looks like they're in a little bit of disarray and trying to find their identity and exactly who they're going to be. I got a chance to go see them in Marquette earlier in the week as well. Good players, but just haven't quite put it together and what kind of team they're going to be. But it's a ton of question marks in the Big Ten. But I'm sure once we get to the conference play and they get to beating up on each other a little bit, we're going to be talking about how many teams are going to get into the tournament again. So
let's talk a little bit about that. That Marquette Illinois game. When we talked about it during the week, we spent a lot of time focusing on Marquette and how impressive it was they won that game. But Illinois is a team, they struggled. I can't remember. I'm blanking on who they played before Marquette, but they struggled with them. Tonight they struggled with Valpo, and they were down at halftime by 7. They were tied with about 10 minutes left in that game. They made a huge run to close it out. What do you think Illinois is missing? Like, what's the problem with that team at this point in the season, Jerel?
And I think it's just finding out kind of where some of their pieces fit. A big part of that, and one of the cool things for me is being able to be a coach in the EYBLs too. Is I got a ton of kids spread out all across the country. One of those guys is Ty Rogers, so we got a chance to see him. I think the way that they use him, because we heard all this stuff in the preseason about him going to be the point guard this year, the way that they're going to use him over the next couple of months and the confidence that he grows is only going to make them a better team. Obviously, I think Hawkins was out tonight. He has to get healthy and stay healthy. He has to be better and kind of a leader for them. Terrence Shannon has been doing what Terrence Shannon usually does, is attacking the rim, being physical, being aggressive, taking the challenge. Yep.
Hey, let me interrupt you on Rogers. Is he a point guard? In 10 seconds, is Ty Rogers a point guard?
I think he's Draymond Green, but more athletic, like offensively. He's more of a point forward naturally, but at the same time, he has the attributes. He's really good making passes, reading defenses, and he can make all of the plays. So the only thing that he really struggles with is his shot right now. So.
Yeah. Well, Illinois was not the only team that struggled tonight. We saw Arkansas have a less than ideal performance at home against UNC-G. We're going to be talking about the SEC and the Hogs when we come back. College basketball season kicks off this week, and there's no better way to get prepared for the wild finishes, the bad beats, and the total unpredictability of the sport that we all love than by purchasing access to the Almanac, a project that we at the Field of 68 partnered on with 3-Man Weave, Heat Check CBB, and Verbal Commits. Unlike last season, the Almanac is no longer a PDF. Rather, it is a website that features more than 1,500 words on each and every one of the 362 Division I teams in college basketball. We wrote more than 800,000 words in total. We spoke to every single Division I head coach to get a feel for the rosters, the rotation, the projected starter lineups, and what they think their team is going to look like this year. For everyone, from the bluest of the blue bloods to the smallest of the mid-majors, they deserve to be covered like they matter. And over at the Almanac, that is precisely what we do. Access costs just $19.99 for the year and can be purchased at the link in the description below. And now, back to our show. Welcome back to the Friday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Dauster. I have Marquette legend. I'm going to go ahead and call him a legend because he deserves to be called a legend. Jerel McNeal here with me. I have Jeff Goodman, who picked St. Mary's to make it to the Final Four. St. Mary's is now down by 20 to San Diego State in the Continental Tire main event out in Las Vegas. You can rub it in my face. I can rub it in your face just as well, Jeff Goodman. So we're going to make a quick little pivot here. We are going to be joined here probably in about 15 minutes by the Langley twins from UNC-G, who were part of the team that went into Arkansas and won tonight. So we're going to do a little flip-flop here. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. So we're going to kick it off here by talking Kansas State, Providence. Kansas State wins 73-70 in overtime in the Baha Mar. I think it's called the Baha Mar Classic down in the Bahamas. Goodman. There was obviously a fight at the end. We can kind of break that down a little bit, but Providence lost a game that was winnable. They did it without Jaden Pierre, and they did it with Bryce Hopkins playing like he was Jeff Goodman. Are you worried about where the Friars are right now? Are you impressed with what Kansas State was this season? What do you take of that game that happened down in the Bahamas?
Yeah, I mean, it was a war. You saw it with a couple skirmishes, one of which is probably going to get Garway Dual, a talented freshman for Providence, and Day Ames, a talented freshman for Kansas State, both suspended, maybe for more than a game. But listen, here's the difference. The difference to me was point guard play. And down the stretch, Kansas State was able to execute. Tyler Perry was terrific playing the two-man game. And he went 14 for 14 from the line, but he just controlled the game. You know, they're without Naquan Tomlin and Quez Glover, two of their best players, and still able to get this win against a Providence team that I know you picked them to go to the Final Four in your hot take show. I know you don't think they're really going to the Final Four, but they are a talented team with two all-league players in Devin Carter and Bryce Hopkins. So I think this was a hell of a win for Kansas State. So good that, in fact, I'm going to throw on another hat. We got dude's hat because Tyler Perry is a dude. He is an absolute dude.
Jerel, what do you make of that game?
Man, I think it was same thing that Jeff said. Really, it was a really tough, hard-fought game. It was a bit of a rock fight, especially early on. I'd say through about 3/4 of that game. But man, high level, high intensity. Both teams were playing really physical. Both teams were trying to get after each other and guard. And to be honest, it was a little sloppy at times with turnovers and mistakes and things like that. But man, I think Providence, like you said, they really missed the opportunity tonight. I thought they had a chance, and I thought they were going to take control of that game toward the end, especially going down the stretch in those last couple of possessions after they got that big stop against Kaluma, where the guy made a hell of a defensive play. For some reason, they drew up a ISO for Kaluma on the wing there at the end of the game instead of keeping the ball in Tyler Perry's hand, which I didn't think made a lot of sense. You know, they were eating out the high ball screen with him all night. He was making plays. He was getting other guys' ball. You know, you got to go to your guy, and that kid is tough, man. But it was a really good game, a well-played game by both sides, but I think Providence let one get away tonight.
Yeah, to this point in the season, Bryce Hopkins is he came into tonight shooting 32% from the floor and 20% from beyond the arc, and tonight he went 2 for 15 from the floor. This has not been the season that we necessarily expected for Bryce Hopkins. I want to ask you this, Jerel. We saw the play that happened at the end of regulation, right? Devin Carter comes off a ball screen, gets into the lane, and gets bumped when he is in the air. I thought it could have been a call to foul. It looked like it was one of those situations where the referee said, we're not going to decide the game by blowing the whistle, when they actually did decide the game by not blowing the whistle because the dude got fouled. Did you think that Devin Carter got fouled on that final possession?
I think them not calling that foul fit with kind of the growing trend of that game. They let those guys play, you know, and they let the players decide the game. It was a physical, a tough, gritty game all the way through. And, you know, sometimes when you draw the ball to the rim in those type of situations and you play for contact, you know, you got to be willing to go in there and finish through it. But to be honest with you, Rob, I thought he had an opportunity at the last second there where he had a couple guys on the weak side wide open. Maybe a guy in the corner, I'm not sure who it was, and another guy diving toward the rim on that. So maybe he could have looked to drop it off or kick it out to the corner for a three. But I still liked him being aggressive and trying to get downhill, because to be honest with you, they wouldn't have been in that situation tonight if he hadn't did what he done, even though he didn't shoot it great. But he still finished the game with 19 points and 7 rebounds and a few too many turnovers, 6 turnovers. But he was the reason that they were there. So I don't have a problem with it. And I don't think the ref should have called it there. I think you got to let the players decide the game in that situation.
Yeah, Goodman, let me ask you this. So Garway Dual and Day-Day Ams, what kind of happened was that it was a tested game. It was a physical game. You could tell that emotions were running high throughout most of that second half. Dual hits Ames with a shoulder. Ames comes back and kind of sneakily catches him right in the chin, right in the jaw. I think that Day-Day knew exactly what he was doing when he did that. I think Garway believed he knew exactly what he was doing when he did that, and he came back, and it wasn't really a punch. He kind of hit him with like the Chuck Liddell elbow right in the jaw.
Shiver.
A forearm shiver.
Do to you. I wanted to do that to you for the last 4 weeks since we've been traveling together to all these media days and games. Next time I see you, I'm going to give you the forearm shiver. You're
smarter than that, I promise you. What do you, in all seriousness though, if you are Kim English, how do you kind of handle that? If you're Jerome Tang, how do you handle that with those two guys? Is this just freshmen having to learn a tough lesson the hard way?
Yeah, I would ask Jerel this question because he's been through it, and Jerel was about as tough a dude, because I saw him play at AAU ball plenty. He was about as tough a dude coming out, and obviously your emotions are going to get the best of you. But you have to also understand, as you mature, you can't put your team in situations like that, right, Jerel?
No, absolutely, and it'll hopefully be a major learning experience for both freshmen. And like you said, I think they got a little bit tangled up. I think it was it ended up being a lot worse than what it should have been. It should have just been a little tangled up, maybe push the guy, but the guy did kind of throw a forearm at him at the end of that, but he did get caught in the mouth right before that. But and at this level and at this age, you got to let that type of stuff go. And to be honest with you, it's not once you get to that point where you're getting ejected out of games and throwing actual punches, at that point it's not tough anymore. It's just kind of stupid, because you got to realize that you're in situations where you're not just gonna hurt yourself and being out, but you're hurting your team and your teammates in a nip and tuck game at that. So those guys are young. And they both play really pivotal minutes tonight, and they're both really good players. especially getting those type of minutes as freshmen. But they got to learn from this experience, man. We need you in the game. You can't throw punches at the worst. Watch the NBA outside of the Draymond Roddy Piper sleeper hold. It's usually just a good pushing match. You know what I mean? Because number one, nobody wants to lose that money and get fined. But number two, nobody really wants to fight. If it's that serious, guys usually take it into the tunnels or the locker room or something like that, man, whatever it may be. So.
Hey, Rob,
the big thing for me with
the fact that he knows who Roddy Piper is. I'm all in on Jerel on After Dark. Like
Jeff, I'm an old school
wrestling
fan, Jeff. I'm an old school wrestling fan.
Love it.
The last thing that I'll say, and then we can move on, is that if Garway doesn't respond and the referees go to the monitor, which I'm sure they would have done, then Providence would have gotten 2 foul shots and the ball down by 5 with 8 seconds left. So Garway's got to be better than that. I understand that the moment's running hot and the frustrations are running high, but can't do that, man. You got to be better than that. All right. The other Big East team that was in action tonight was St. John's, and they lost it wasn't at home. It was in the Charleston Classic. They lost to Dayton 88-81, 21-5 for Duron Holmes. The Johnnies had 14 turnovers and allowed 52% shooting and 41% three-point shooting. Goodman, this is where we need to talk about Vaulted. Vaulted is an app that allows you to participate in daily cash prize pools without an entry fee. It is the place you can store your own predictions forever. And by using the Vaulted Challenge feature, you can prove that you are smarter than your friends and the people that you also hate, like Jeff Goodman. So go download the Vaulted app for free. It is spelled VLTED. And challenge your friends, store your predictions, and join daily cash prize pools without an entry fee. Goodman, here's the challenge that I have for you. I know that St. John's has already lost 2 games. I know they lost to Dayton. I know they lost at home to a Michigan team that you think is horrible, and I still think is actually pretty good. I am challenging you that St. John's is going to make it to the NCAA tournament still. Rick Pitino is going to find an answer here. Do you accept my challenge?
No, I agree with you. I'm not betting against Rick Pitino. He's got a completely different team. He doesn't have RJ Luis, who's hurt right now. I don't know if he's got a dude, but I'm not sure he needs a dude to be able to get in the NCAA tournament. So I'm with you on this one. I'm not going against you.
Jerel, where do you stand?
I'm going against you. So let me get this right. That means I don't accept the challenge, right? Yep. That's correct, right? So yeah, I'm not accepting this challenge. And that's not to say that I don't think that St. John's will be in the mix at the end. I think they'll be one of those teams that are there. They'll get better as the year goes on, and obviously got a ton of respect for Coach Pitino. But man, right now I think they're in flux of kind of him putting his stamp on what he wants to build in that program to be, from what they have personnel-wise right now, and they're really, really bad defensively, and they can't stop anybody. So it's going to be hard to get wins like that, giving up almost 80, 90 points a game.
Jerel, you played against Pitino when he was in the Big East at Louisville, right? What is it about his teams that make them so tough to play against? What makes him so good as a coach?
I mean, one of the things in the trademarks and the things that I used to hate playing against it constant was just the constant pressure. And back at Louisville, they used to run a 2-2-1, I think, with the little guards up top, man, and they kind of just bait you into coming up that sideline, and they start getting traps and getting really, really scrappy. And they were always tough and competitive teams. Not to mention, this is back when we played at Freedom Hall, which was just a hard place to win at anyway, man. But they'll play fast, they'll play hard, they'll press, they'll get after people, they'll create turnovers. Those are all the staples of a normal Rick Pitino teams. And he's going to get there. It's just a matter of when and being able to kind of build on what he has personnel-wise right now. He doesn't have the guys right now that's able to do that for 40 minutes. So I think that's hurting him a little bit on the back end and down the stretch of games. All
right, Goodman, let me hit you with this. Houston went out and they beat Utah today. Jamal Shade had and LJ Cryer combined for 28 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Manuel Sharp had 15 off the bench. Are we doing it again? Are we looking at this Houston team and completely overlooking how good they are and what they can do just because we don't necessarily know the names as well as we do for some of these other teams?
Yeah, and Terrence Arsenault had like 8 off the bench. He's going to come along. He's super talented as a sophomore. But listen, I'll say this, Rob. I think if you told me I can have one player shooting a three at the end of a game in all of college basketball, I might take LJ Cryer. That's how much I like him. I love Shed. Their bigs are their bigs. They're not going to overwhelm you, but they're tough. They're physical. They fight you. So absolutely, Kelvin Sampson, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. It's a Kelvin Sampson team, a Kelvin Sampson program, and they are going to beat you up. Sometimes literally, sometimes metaphorically. They're going to get to the offensive glass and they're going to play great defense. Look, I teased it earlier. I told you guys earlier that we were going to talk to the Langley twins from UNC Greensboro. We're going to talk about Arkansas losing at home to a team from the SoCon. That is going to happen for real this time when we come back from this break. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code FIELD200 and you will receive $200 in bonus bets instantly when placing your first wager of at least $10 with BetMGM. Here's what you got to do. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD200. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game regardless of sport. You will receive $200 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your wager. Just make sure that you use the bonus code FIELD200 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient for me when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly. When crossing state borders, just log into your existing account instead of having to create new accounts in each state that you go to. And most importantly, I got to let you know, we do have some fun stuff coming up for this college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boosts, my personal favorite, parlay odds boosts. So download the BetMGM app today. Welcome back to the Friday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Dauster. That is Jeff Goodman. That is Jerel McNeal. And we need to talk about the Arkansas Razorbacks. Arkansas at home found themselves down 38-24 at halftime to UNC Greensboro, who's good, but not good enough that they should be going into the Bud Walton Arena and beating up on an Arkansas team that's ranked top 15 in the country. Guys, I'm going to start with Jerel. I'm going to start to you on this one. What is the thing that Arkansas is doing that is the most concerning at this point? They're losing 78-72. They're shooting 4 for 23 from three. It's another must team that's struggling in November. Is this just kind of what they do at this point in the year?
I feel like it's become a ongoing trend kind of for those teams over the last couple of years since Coach Musselman's been there. One of the things that's really cool though about that is that they're another team I feel like over the last few years that you don't have to worry about. They're kind of late starters. They get going usually down the stretch of the second half of the season, and I know he does a great job and has a big background in it. But man, guys improve under him throughout the course of the year. I think that's really big in college basketball, especially once we get to going into these holiday breaks and Christmas time and Thanksgiving. I'm sure all the guys that played at that level know that's kind of the worst thing that you want to hear is that no more classes and you're the only team that's still left on campus. But those are hours that kind of benefit you, man, because you don't have to worry about going into school. And usually you see guys that are on a roster kind of separate themselves and take that next step. And I think Arkansas is going to be the same way. Traditionally they don't shoot the ball from outside well. Traditionally they don't have a ton of guys that can knock down shots always. But one of the things that's a little bit concerning is that I think one of their best offenses has been their offensive rebounding. They go after the glass hard. They're really athletic. They go get extra possessions, and that really helps them. And they struggle with that a little bit tonight, and really to start off the season. But I think they'll pick it up and they'll be fine.
Goodman, you called this, man. You called it way back when they got all of these commits back in what was it, in April? They landed like the first 5 guys that entered the portal went out and got. And you said they don't have enough shooting. They shot 4 for 23 tonight. Is this just you being prescient? Are you just going to try to tell us that you know ball better than anybody else knows ball? What happened here?
No, because I did pick St. Mary's to go to the Final Four, but you throw enough darts
tonight, man.
You hit a few. So they were 2 for 20 to start from 3, and I do worry that I don't think they have it. Their best shooter is the kid Joe Pinion coming off the bench, but he can't get off the bench because he can't really guard. So they got a bunch of really good athletes. I think on certain nights they're going to shoot it well enough, and like Jerel said, they're super athletic. They get after you. They did not do anything on the offensive glass tonight, and against UNC-G, they need to. But again, the Langleys, super athletic. We're going to hopefully talk to them here in a couple minutes. But I think ultimately Arkansas has got to make enough shots. And yes, it takes them time to get going, but you got to come out of the gates a little bit better than this.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I'll be honest, I'm a little bit worried about them. At the same time, this is kind of what Muss does, right? This is kind of what Arkansas does. They play some of these early games. They struggle through some of these early games. Like the way I've said this before on the show, like when Muss figures out where he's able to win mismatches and where he's able to go to somebody that can't be guarded, he just goes to that over and over and over and over and over again. But it kind of takes him sometimes like a month, 2 months. Last year, it took them 3 months before they figured out like what worked for them and how they were able to go out and win games. So I think this is just kind of part of the process for them. It's unfortunate that they had to lose a home game to kind of figure some of this stuff out. And honestly, you could talk about the shooting, you could talk about the offensive rebounding. They gave up 78 points at home, Jerel. We talked about it with Michigan. Like, you can't give up 78 points at home when you're playing against a team that you're supposed to be able to overmatch.
No, absolutely. And you're talking about a UNC Greensboro team that's coming in and shooting almost 50% from the field at that. And like we said, they were able to keep them off the offensive glass and punish them on the other end. They didn't shoot it spectacular from 3. They were 9 to 24. So that's not the only reason that they lost, but they just got outplayed tonight and 6 offensive rebounds at home. And giving up 78 points at home is not kind of their culture and what they've been doing for them to have success over the last couple of years. So they got to get back to doing that. They got to guard people. They got to be nasty. They got to be physical. They got to be fast, and they got to attack the glass. That's what Arkansas wins games at. That's the team. That's the only way this team is getting back up there and having the opportunity to compete in the SEC for a championship this year.
Goodman, while we wait for the Langley twins to show up, let's talk about some other storylines that we saw pop up in the SEC tonight. And for me, the biggest one is going back to Kentucky, right? The biggest, you know what? I just got a message from the producer. We can hold that conversation about Kentucky because the Langley twins are here. Goodman, one of my favorite conversations, one of my favorite interviews that we've done this entire season during our off season, our preseason conference media day tour was
our guys.
Our guys are back on the show. They combined tonight for 25 points, but that's kind of burying the lead, right? Did we figure out who the best shooter is tonight? Listen, guys, congratulations. It's great to see you. You just went into Bud Walton Arena and got a win. How you feeling, man? You got to feel pretty good right now.
Yeah, I feel like we on top of the world right now. I feel like we're the happiest people on live right now. So, yeah, just not satisfied, just excited to win. But it's a long season.
All right, guys, what was it tonight where you were able to go into a hot – listen, that place is insane. It's one of the best home court advantages in all of college basketball. How were you able to go in, out-rebound these guys, hold them in check from the perimeter? What was the biggest key to you guys coming away with a win tonight?
I think, honestly, we've been playing teams previously, and they've been, kicking our butts on the offensive glass, defensive glass. And really, we just talked in the locker room. We was like, that's not going to happen tonight. Leadership kicked in. But it really came from, JB stepped up, Jalen Breath stepped up, Mikael Brown stepped up. just everybody as a collective stepped up and just boxed out and got the rebounds. Honestly, yeah, I feel like it was just like the mindset from the jump. We was just talking to our guys and just telling them, you got nothing to worry about. Don't be scared. Just go out there and do your best and just play hard. Everything take care of itself.
Congrats, guys. Just jumping in here, man. Big win tonight. I'm just curious just to see, just from a player standpoint, what does a win like this kind of do for you guys going forward for the rest of the season? And, is this going to be kind of like the light switch going off, like from, hey, we got a good team, and hell, we could be really good?
Yeah, I think it puts everybody on notice that we're a really good team. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but I think that we're a really good team and we can be consistent with it and win a lot of games. Yeah, to piggyback off Key, I think to begin with, we all had the confidence going into the season. Like, we might not have the biggest target on our back, but we're out here trying to go for the target. I think we're competitors. We're competitors. So coming into this game, we just felt like we was going to win. Coming into every game, we felt like we was going to win. I think that's the biggest thing, the mindset.
All right, so how do you celebrate tonight? First of all, what did you pick up for dinner on the way back to the hotel?
Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's.
Raising
right now.
Is that good? I see them everywhere. Is Raising Cane's good or is it just there?
Nah, I feel like Raising Cane's is good. It's the best to me. Honestly, Raising Cane's better than Zaxby's, but hey, that's just me.
Wow. All right.
Get these guys an NIL deal, man. Get them an NIL deal. Let's go.
Need that.
Hey, Rob, you know where they're going next? They got a week off, and then they go to Baja Mar, which I was at a couple months ago. Man, listen, just don't spend too much time over there in the pool and the water slides and all that stuff, all right? Just make sure you guys are doing the right thing here because that place can give you a lot of distractions.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Definitely a business trip.
Well, listen, guys, congratulations on the win. We're happy for you. We're rooting for you. I got one last question. What's a better feeling? When you make a shot at home, a big shot at home, crowd goes nuts, packed gym going crazy, or when you go in a building like that, 15,000 maniacs in there, and you make a shot and you can hear a pin drop?
It's crazy. It's like you're doing one of these. It feels great. Yeah, it feels amazing. Yeah. Just scoring at an opponent arena like that, it's crazy.
Well, listen, guys, congratulations. Yeah, go celebrate this win. Go eat your Raising Cane's. Go enjoy this time with your teammates. Thank you for jumping on. We're gonna be watching you guys the rest of the year. Congratulations, fellas.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats, guys.
That was the Langley twins. Goodman, they might be my two favorite players in college basketball.
Love those kids. We went down, Jerel. We did the SoCon Media Day, and we spent some time with them. And the funniest part was before the interview, a bunch of people told me Keyshawn doesn't really say much. He's an introvert, and Kobe's the one who likes to talk. I'm like, all right. When they challenge me with that, Rob, generally I'm pretty good at this. And how good did we get Keyshawn going?
Well, we got them going, man. They were fun. We had them arguing about who was the better shooter, who was the better defender, who was better at Madden. It was enjoyable. All right, I teased it a little bit, Jerel. We want to talk about Kentucky. I've already gotten Goodman's opinion on this. For my money, Kentucky beat Stonehill 101-67 tonight. Reed Sheppard and Robert Dillingham combined off the bench 45 points, 14 assists, 7 steals. They were also 10 for 14 from beyond the arc. I think that you got to start playing those 2 more minutes. I think Reed Sheppard's the best guard they have. I think Robert Dillingham, a.k.a. Thrillingham, is the second best guard they have. How do you manage that if they're coming off the bench, Jerel?
I'm not sure. To be honest with you, I think Cal is going to kind of have his work cut out for him a little bit. The only good thing about that situation right now is that all of these guys are young. So the ego portion of it, I guess you can kind of keep it and manage it a little bit better. But man, between Sheppard and Dillingham, it's hard to keep both of those guys on the bench, man. Dillingham is explosive. I think he's easily one of the best guards in the country right now as a freshman. I got an opportunity to work with him and Wagner at the Nike Academy a few months ago, man. So I knew they kind of had it going, rolling into this, man. But they got some good young guards, and Reed Sheppard is a dude too, man. He's been playing his butt off. There's no question that he's man more minutes at some point. They're going to need him to kind of get back to where they're trying to go in Kentucky.
Yeah, Goodman, you got 30 seconds here, Goodman. What do you make of this performance from Reed Sheppard and Robert Dillingham?
Here's the big thing with Reed Sheppard. He gives you what some of those guys don't give you, which is a ball mover. A ball mover. And those guys love to dribble, and they can get to the basket whenever the hell they want, but you need something different. And Reed Sheppard just makes the right decision for the most part, and he can make shots from deep. So I think you got to have Reed Sheppard out there 30 minutes a game. 30 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. He's also their best perimeter defender. Listen, we got to take a break. When we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the SEC, and I'm going to put Jerel on the spot. Is Marquette going to win the Maui Invitational? College basketball season kicks off this week, and there's no better way to get prepared for the wild finishes, the bad beats, and the total unpredictability of the sport that we all love than by purchasing access to the Almanac, a project that we at the Field of 68 partnered on with 3-Man Weave, Heat Check CBB, and Verbal Commits. Unlike last season, the Almanac is no longer a PDF. Rather, it is a website that features more than 1,500 words on each and every one of the 362 Division I teams in college basketball. We wrote more than 800,000 words in total. We spoke to every single Division I head coach to get a feel for the rosters, the rotation, the projected starter lineups, and what they think their team is going to look like this year. For everyone, from the bluest of the blue bloods to the smallest of the mid-majors, they deserve to be covered like they matter. And over at the Almanac, that is precisely what we do. Access costs just $19.99 for the year and can be purchased at the link in the description below. And now, back to our show.
No questions.
Welcome back to the Friday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Dauster. I have Jerel McNeal, and that guy that you just heard talking when he knew the mics were hot is none other than Jeff Goodman. That's not going to be the last time that Jeff messes something up on this show. I can promise you that. Hey, by the way, I just want you guys to know we do have another show that we're going to be doing every single night. It is called Last Call. It is replacing the afters. We're going to be answering all of your chat questions. So jump in our chat, jump in the Stadium YouTube chat, drop in your questions there. We're going to be interacting with you guys. We will answer anything that won't get us canceled. I promise you that. I will put Jerel McNeal on the spot if I have to. I'm not afraid to do it. I can't do it with Goodman because Goodman might mess up the show and get it canceled. Listen, guys, I wanted to touch on one other thing on the SEC before we got into a conversation about the Maui Invitational. I'm really high on Auburn, guys. I am really high on them. I love their bigs. I think Aiden Holloway is the perfect Bruce Pearl guard. I love what Katie Johnson brings off the bench. Jerel, I don't think I've talked to you about the Tigers yet. Where do you stand on this team?
Oh man, I'm actually with you on this one, Rob. I was really high on them. They thoroughly impressed me in the game a couple weeks ago against Baylor. A lot better than I thought they were going to be. Like you said, Aiden Holloway can really dynamic, a little bit undersized, smaller point guard, but man, he can shoot the hell out of the ball. He's really good in pick and roll situations, and Johnny Broome as well too, man. He's a tough, rugged guy. He's obviously been working on his game a little bit, being able to step into and knock down a couple more pick and pop threes, so that kind of gives him a different element to his game. And I expect the Tigers Tigers to be really competitive this year. Obviously, Bruce Pearl does what he does. They're going to be up in the guys and pressure and things like that, man. I think they got an opportunity to finish in the top 4 in the SEC this year, though. Seriously.
I want to ask you real quick about Aiden Holloway because he was a guy that played in the EYBL. You've coached on the EYBL circuit. He struggled a little bit tonight. He only had 8 points, shot 20% from the floor. But coming into tonight, he was averaging 15 points, 5 assists, shooting better than 50% from 3. I was a little bit, I knew he had some of this in his game. I was a little bit worried about a guy that he's listed at 6'1". I don't think he's 6'1". Coming in as a freshman playing in the SEC. Did you see this kind of impact coming from him right away?
You know, I was a little bit worried as well too, because you always got to take into account that freshman curve. And when guys come in, it takes some guys longer than it takes others to kind of figure out the physicality of the game, the things that they're gonna have to be, the things that they're gonna have to do to stay on the court in college a lot of times. And to be honest with you, Pearl has kind of rolled him out there, man, and let him go a little bit. Some of these shots that he's taking NBA 3-pointers. He's confident, and all the things that he's able to do in pick and roll situations are a strength. So I think they kind of feed off of that, and the older guys are kind of helping him along with everything else. I think the only thing that he really kind of struggles with, from my opinions at times, is when he gets a little bit too deep into the paint, he struggles to see some of the passes or get the passes to guys over some length, and he struggles finishing over length at the rim a little bit, man. As he continues to grow and gets more comfortable and starts using his floaters and those in-between shots and things like that, man, he's going to be a dynamic guard for a long time to come.
Goodman, are you with me on the Tigers?
Bruce Pearl loves small guards. Like he loves them. My problem has been for the last couple of years has been a lot of these guys aren't point guards. And Aiden Holloway, as much as I loved him, and I loved him on the circuit, he is not a point guard. They have 5 assists on 25 field goals tonight. That's got to be better. They got to be able to move the ball. They can't just – that's kind of what they've done the last couple of years, right? With Wendell, just kind of jacking shots up. They got to be able to kind of make things easier for other guys like KD Johnson.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, let's get into the Maui Invitational. We are, of course, presented by our partners over at BetMGM. I think the Maui Invitational might be the best NTE field we've ever seen. There are 5 top teams in a field with 8 teams. Real quick, the odds over on BetMGM for teams to win: Kansas is getting at plus 170. Tennessee is getting at plus 300. Purdue, who might be the best team in college basketball, is plus 325. That seems a little bit long for my odds. And Marquette, Jerel, is plus 600. They are 6-1 to win. That means if you bet $100 on Marquette to win, you win $600 over at our friends with BetMGM. Jerel, talk to me, man. Talk me into this. Why will Marquette win the Maui Invitational? Give it to me, man. Talk me into it.
Rob, I love those odds, first of all. It doesn't sound like a bad bet to me at all. But I think the guys are rolling right now. They're coming off a big win at Illinois. And the only real concern I think all of Marquette Nation right now is kind of holding their breath on is just is TK's ankle. And he's gonna have some time now. Hopefully you don't worry about it swelling up more or getting inflamed on that flight over there, because it is a long flight. But you want to make sure that you can get him as close to 100% as possible. And to be honest with you, with the field that it is, I think it'll kind of work in Marquette's favor with the traditional bigs, both in this one with Kansas, with Dickinson, and Purdue with Edey. We'll have opportunity to play some small ball and kind of stretch those guys out and bring them away from the rim a little bit, with Oso being kind of our point center out there. I think it'll work in our favor a lot, man, and it'll be some cool matchups to see as well too. One of the fun things always about this time of year in Feast Week is you get to see matchups that you usually don't get a chance to see. But yeah, I'm going all in Marquette plus 600. I love it.
Look, Goodman, I'm just going to put this out there, Goodman. I don't believe that Tyler Kolek feels pain. Either he doesn't feel pain or he didn't actually have an injured ankle. You guys tried to tell me he was a game-time decision, and then he goes out against Illinois and has 24.6 boards, 4 assists, 10 for 18 from the field. I know our producer, Trevor Valise, shout out to him. he was crying some tears inside and a little bit of tears on the outside as well when Tyler Kolek did that at Illinois. Where do you stand on this event, Goodman? You know, you've been around for a long time. You're really, really old. What do you make of this field that they have right now? And is it as look? I can't remember a field that was as good as this one. The two teams that aren't ranked in the top 10, Syracuse and UCLA, two of the biggest brands and two really, really talented teams.
No, the only issue is you got Chaminade in there again. You know, if you didn't have Chaminade and you had somebody else, but it's loaded. The 7 teams are loaded. You know, here's my worry with Marquette is you get UCLA in the first game. I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. I think UCLA is so young, and they're going to struggle out of the gates here. But Kolek's got to go back to back to back. There's no days off in the Maui, so you get Kansas in the second game, and you get DeJuan Harris, who's one of the best defensive point guards in the country, with again no days off. And then if you get through them, you're going to deal with like Purdue potentially in the third straight day with his ankle the way it's been. I just want him to be smart. Honestly, he's so much of a gamer that he can't pull back when he plays. And I'm just hoping that he's smart about how he plays and doesn't further injure the ankle. But, man, every game, I mean, look at these games you've got. Like, first-round game of Purdue-Gonzaga. Like, that's insane. That is absolutely insane.
It's awesome.
Now, again, I don't know who the hell is going to stop Zach Edey on Gonzaga. Like, good luck to you. Like, I think they have a better shot with Ben Gregg out there who could pull him away from the basket at least.
Braden Huff is averaging like 21-8 through the first couple games. Look, I'll tell you guys this, and Jerel, please don't be offended when I say this. All I want out of this tournament is Purdue and Kansas for the Maui Invitational Championship at 5 o'clock on that Wednesday before. Like, we all think that they're the two best teams in college basketball. I think we all think Zach Edey and Hunter Dickinson are the two best players in college basketball. Like, that matchup just has so many storylines. They're number 1 and number 2 in the country. There's so much appealing about it. Like, I want it to happen so that it becomes this event that cuts through everything else in college in sports in America. Like, point blank period. Like, that's the kind of matchup that leads Sports Center for 2 straight days, right? That's the kind of thing where you wake up on Thursday morning and people are still talking about that, even though you have Thanksgiving and you have Thanksgiving football and you have all of these other MTE events. Like, that's the kind of matchup that this sport needs. And I love Shaka. I love Marquette. You guys know how I feel about Tyler Kolek. Like, that team is so much fun and so awesome and has a certain swag about them. I need that Purdue-Kansas matchup, man. Jerel, please don't hate me. I need that Purdue-Kansas matchup in my life.
You know, Rob, I wouldn't be completely mad at that, because I get what you're saying, and man, how great would that just be for the sport in totality of college men's basketball? Like you said, with us lacking so many big time games and names early on in the year, and you know, I'm watching women's basketball, and some of their teams are going to Paris and playing all kinds of stuff, man. You know, so we kind of need that stable matchup. So I get it in that aspect, but on the other hand, I would be pissed. I really want Shaka and the boys to do something that we didn't get a chance to do. We lost to Duke in the championship when I got my chance to go to Maui, and I would really love for them to bring that one home. Kyle Singler ended up with my MVP award, so you know those never get old. But we did beat them the year before in Kansas City, so yeah.
Yeah, you hear that, Goodman? He said, look, I hear what you're saying, but also kiss my ass. Listen, this has been the Field of 68 After Dark. Make sure you head over to the Stadium YouTube channel. We're going to be doing laughs all over there for the next 30 minutes. Jump in the chat. Ask us questions. We'll answer them.